Today is the start of season 2 of Doom Patrol, and we got episodes 1, 2, and 3. We got some new characters, some interesting new villains, and some interesting storylines to look forward to in this season. What did I think about the first 3 episodes? Well, we're going to talk about that and much more. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a new TV review, and this time we're talking about the first 3 episodes of season 2 of Doom Patrol, which premiered today. Very excited to let you all know what I've thought about the first 3 episodes and what I hope to see in this season in this non-spoiler review. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Give this video a thumbs up, helps out the channel tremendously, but I also really appreciate it. And last but not least, if and when you've seen these first 3 episodes, let me know what you all thought about it so far. What's your excitement level? What are you hoping to see? Let's have some fun discussions in the comments below. So, little fun fact, I did not watch Doom Patrol when it was available last year. I literally just watched the first season over this past week and a half, and I just did a review earlier this week, so check out that video. I talked about my pros and cons of the first season. I talked about the potential of the second season, so check out that video once you're done watching this. But the moral of the story of that review is I really enjoyed the first season. There were some flaws, there were some characters I didn't really connect with, some storylines and things of that nature, but I was super excited to see what they do with season 2, where they're going to go with the storyline, what are they going to do with this Dorothy character, learning more about Niles. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? So I'm really looking forward to see what this season had to offer. And here we are talking about the first 3 episodes. So the way I want to kind of handle this video here is I'm going to individually talk about episodes 1, 2, or 3. I just figured that would be a lot easier than doing like individual videos on this channel. So I'm going to discuss episodes 1, 2, and 3, but non-spoilers. So for those that haven't been able to binge the first episode, you're able to watch this video without mostly spoilers. There might be mild spoilers in regards to certain aspects of the episode, but they won't be heavy, in-depth type of discussion. So just letting you be warned now. And then in the description below, I'll leave time codes so you can kind of know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, if I bring up spoilers, I'll let you all know. So starting off with episode 1, which was titled Fun Size Patrol. Basically, the plot of that episode was Larry tends to a miniaturized Doom Patrol. Jane and Cliff learn about the enigma that is Dorothy. Meantime, Rita seeks Vic's help in maximizing her abilities, and Niles makes a huge sacrifice in effort to enlarge his sunken friends. So diving into episode 1, which I thought was a really solid way to kick off the season, and kind of picks up immediately after season 1, where we see our team is miniaturized, and we see that Larry is trying to figure out how to make them get to their normal size. But in the meantime, I thought that this episode really did a good job of establishing Dorothy. As we know, this is Niles' daughter. This is kind of why he created the Doom Patrol. This is why he wants to live forever, to protect her. And within the first few minutes of the episode, we get to know Dorothy to a certain extent, right? We get somewhat of an origin story, the backstory of kind of her tragic background and how she's been treated. You know, without getting into the details, we see a scene where she's involved with the circus, and we see how people treat her, and we also see her abilities, which if you are not familiar with Dorothy's abilities, is essentially she has the power to kind of conjuring imaginary friends, and we learn about these friends, Herschel, the candle maker, and one of the members are slipping in my name, but they are very interesting characters, to say the least. But I love how we established Dorothy, played by Abigail Shapiro, who is the younger sister of her older sister was in Hereditary. So if she looks familiar, it's because she is the sister to the girl that was the Charlie character in Hereditary. But I thought that Abigail brought a really good kind of sense to the character. She's actually 17 years old, and she's portraying an 11-year-old, but I think that her age kind of helps that character, because as we all know, not all kid actors are going to be, Jacob Tremblay or McKenna Grace, but I thought that having someone a little bit older, even though she is playing an 11-year-old, I think that she brings a pretty good gravitas and some interesting characteristics to the Dorothy character. But I really love that we established her right off the bat. I love the heck out of the miniature size set. It was very interesting how they shot that. I would love to see it behind the scenes on how they were able to capture our Doom Patrol members as small miniature characters throughout the set that they made, and them going and interacting with rats. I thought that was just so cool. And again, this episode did a really good job of bringing us back into the world, familiarizing us with the situation, with our characters, and then introducing this new enigma as Dorothy, and just seeing, again, her vulnerable, nice, cute, adorable side, but then also her imaginary friends, which can lead to potential problems for our hero. So I thought that the first episode was great, kind of breaking it down to a certain extent without spoilers again. We learn a little bit more about Rita in regards to her becoming more of her comic book accurate character in Alaska Girl. Her and Victor, aka Cyborg kind of learning her abilities to become more of, like I said, the comic book accurate side. So I thought that was interesting, and I'm really interested to see her kind of more become more comic book accurate, because she really has some cool set abilities. She's almost in the sense of kind of Mr. Fantastic meets Ant-Man. So I would love to see her kind of explore those superpowers. As well as we see that Cyborg is dealing with PTSD about Mr. Nobody and everything that he went through with his father and his mom, and figuring out everything from last season. So we're kind of catching up with him. Cliff is obviously, catching up with him. He's very upset about the reveal from last season. For those that haven't seen last season, this essentially involves, Chief and what he did to our superhero. So he's still dealing with that. But like I said, I loved the aspect of the miniature set. I love meeting, Dorothy and, again, her imaginary friends from Herschel, Darling, and the Beast, of course, and then also Candlemaker. So I think that first episode really established, it's cool to be back in the world, but there's some dark and sinister stuff that may be coming for our heroes moving forward. So, and also we figure out, or we get a little bit of an update of what Danny's been up to, and essentially Danny's a brick, and we'll get to that later on. But like I said, the first episode was really solid. It was a great first episode and kind of set the stage for what we're getting for the rest of episode 2 and 3, which, speaking of episode 2, which was titled Patrol, Jane and Rita pursue Dr. Tyme and his time-altering space mineral in their relentless quest to help Niles and Dorothy. At a support group, Vic meets Roni, a military vet who challenges his beliefs. Larry comes face to face with his past at a funeral. All right, so we're talking episode 2, which is Tyme Patrol, which I thought was a really, really cool episode. This kind of gives us a hint at maybe a potential overarching villain in Dr. Tyme, a very interesting villain to say the least. Definitely look him up. He has a history within the DC universe. Very interesting power set that involves time, and time is spelled in T-R-E or T-R-T-Y-M-E. Very interesting way to spell that, but I thought that was a really cool villain, and kind of his setup and the dancing scene and everything with Rita, and seeing a little bit more action in the series. The first 2 episodes, and honestly the first 3 episodes, have been more action packed than most of the second half of the first season, so I love to see that. But again, Dr. Tyme, that whole sequence and his abilities, and again, I think that he may be definitely a recurring villain throughout the season, but I thought he was really fascinating. But within this episode, we really kind of dive deeper into Niles. We get a little bit of an understanding of why he wants to live forever, and kind of what he was willing to sacrifice for the group, to say the least, to have them get back to the regular size, and what he did from that. And kind of we find out how old the Chief is. He's 139 years old, kind of minor spoiler there, and he's looking for the continuum. And again, that's where our group is set out to meet this Dr. Tyme, and I thought that everything with that was just really fascinating. We get a little bit of backstory within 2 individual kind of subplots. We see, Victor goes back to Detroit. He goes to this kind of support group where he meets Roni and a potential character that we might see throughout the season. So I thought that was really interesting to see it kind of get Cyborg kind of doing his side mission, because again, if you look at my review for season 1, with, the 3 main characters, I would say, with Cyborg, with Larry and Rita, they weren't as developed and weren't as interesting to me as we got with the 2 superstars of the show. Is definitely Jane and Robot Man, Cliff Steele. So I'm really interested to see what they do with Cyborg, and interesting to see what he does with this new character in Detroit in the support group. But also Larry, he gets a little bit more backstory. We kind of go back to the well with Larry and his kind of backstory and his family, and kind of figuring out, the situation with them and seeing what his sons are up to. I'll just say that. And it involves a funeral. And then we get the cool thing too that stood out to me was we meet Miranda, dealing with, protecting Kay. We have Jane, who's mostly the lead of the position of all 64 personalities, but we meet Miranda. She's a very interesting character and may be up for a new position, to say the least. So I really love that we kind of get that information with Jane, and figuring out about Miranda and her powers and everything that the other personalities like about Miranda, I thought was really cool. But to me, this episode really does kind of shine a light on the fact that Niles may not be a quote-unquote hero or the leader of the team that we thought he is. I thought this episode really kind of displayed that he will do whatever it takes to protect his daughter. So a really kind of fascinating episode. And again, focuses on Niles to a certain extent. We get a little bit of the backstory with, everything with going on with, Jane, and also, Cyborg, side mission, and Larry. So I thought it was a really solid follow-up to the first solid episode. And like I said, the first 2 episodes so far have been really interesting. I'm just loving the being back in the universe, seeing the absurdity, the crazy jokes, and the maturity of this show. I just really enjoyed the first episodes. But wrapping up this kind of thought process in this review, diving into episode 3, which was Tyme Patrol. In the wake of the terrifying omen, Niles and Rita enter the interdimensional palace of the infamous Red Jack, who feeds on pain and his taken Larry prisoner. Jane is called to the underground to receive an ultimatum, while her physical body travels to Florida with Cliff, who's eager to prove he's a good father. Back at the manor, Dorothy's game of hide and go seek ends badly. In Pain Patrol, I thought that this was probably my favorite episode of the 3. Again, I thought episodes 1 and 2 were fantastic, but this one really kind of brings home why I love this show, why I love DC. It's just so many interesting characters, so many different tones, whether it be the more serious stuff that we get with these characters and dealing with their past trauma and dealing with the situation they're in, or the absurdity and meeting this crazy characters. Like we get another, I hope that they make a recurring appearance in Red Jack, who is aka a similar kind of a DC version of Jack the Ripper. I kind of love that character and love his mythology and his lore, his power set. I really hope that we get more of that character and figuring out more about his past, and he gives kind of an ultimatum to Niles, and we kind of have a resolution with that character pretty shortly, and that's kind of, I'll get to a little bit later in regards to my negatives of the first 3 episodes. But in regards to just an overview, Cyborg, again, kind of has a little bit more of more time with Roni, and he has a bit of a love interest, and it'll be really interesting to see what comes of that Roni character in that relationship with Cyborg, and see where things end there and how much longer he's going to be in Detroit with Roni, and is she maybe a potential member to join the Doom Patrol? I don't know. We'll see. But really, the biggest thing, too, that we learned in this episode is Jane goes to the underground. She has somewhat of an intervention with her other 63 personalities, and they're just fed up with Jane at this point. We all know what Jane's been doing since season 1, with shooting up with that kind of that serum that she was given, by the end of season 1. And, they want to change, and they give her an ultimatum, essentially saying that, hey, we're not going to continue to deal with your stuff, Jane. You're going to either do what we say, or there's going to be someone else in charge. So I thought that was really fascinating, and giving something more interesting to Crazy Jane and an interesting perspective of those 64 personalities. And I'm really interested to see what other personalities we see, as I had mentioned with episode 2 with Miranda. So I'm really interested to see what they do with Jane, but I really like that aspect. And we get some stuff about Danny. I'll be really interested to see what they do with Danny Street in regards to what happens with Dorothy, which, speaking of Dorothy, since episode 1, episode 2 and 3, they really don't focus on her as much, but I like what they're doing with her. You don't want to let all your tricks out of the bag. You don't want to show your hand too much. So I like that they're kind of leaving her in the background. We still get the imaginary characters. We still see that she's a very powerful character, but I like how they're using her so far, and I'm really interested to see what they do with her, because, again, those imaginary friends are up to no good. They have a very, very huge power set. They can destroy the world, so I'm really fascinated with her. But, again, just a quick overview. I thought episode 1, 2, and 3 were solid, but episode 3 was probably my favorite, Pain Control. And again, everything that we get with Cliff within that episode, him visiting his daughter and everything that comes with that. So kind of overall thoughts, I thought that the show, again, the highlights to me are Jane and Cliff, but I'm really liking how the show is giving me those characters that I really wasn't the biggest fan of in season 1, which is giving us a little bit more with Cyborg. Rita's learning her abilities to be Elastigirl, more comic book accurate. Larry still kind of dealing with stuff from season 1 with his family, and we'll see what comes of his, his sons and the relationship with his family. We'll see what goes on there, and then learning more about Niles and that relationship with Dorothy. So far, I'm loving this season so far. I'm really excited to see what comes of the rest of the season. We're only getting 9 episodes, which I'm actually a fan of. Again, if you watch my full breakdown of season 1, one of my biggest criticisms was I thought that 15 episodes just felt way too long. There were definitely filler episodes. There were moments where, again, even within these first 3 episodes, we're kind of getting I hope they're not quote-unquote villain of the weeks, in Tyme, Dr. Tyme. I hope he's an overarching villain. I hope that Red Jack comes back again. And I also want Mr. Nobody to make an appearance. I know you can't just focus on that one character, but I feel like there's still a lot to be said about Mr. Nobody. So I hope that we get him back. Obviously Flex. I hope we get, a lot of those characters, the Beard Hunter, and also introducing new characters. And it'll be really interesting to see if there's maybe some potential new members to Doom Patrol, as, who knows if Dorothy's going to be a future member. Who knows about this Roni character. And maybe Cyborg is making his way out, and maybe he's going to be part of Titan, which I haven't watched, and maybe Beast Boy, who was actually a part of Doom Patrol in the comics, makes a swap per se. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the season. But moving forward, the way I want to handle these reviews, episodes 4 through 9 reviews will be simply spoiler discussions, as I do with a lot of my TV reviews on this channel. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But Really excited for the season. Let me know what you all thought about the first 3 episodes and what you're hoping to see in the rest of the season. But again, every Thursday I will be giving you all my spoiler review for the rest of the season. But thank you all for watching this review. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new content, as well as keep an eye out for things to come. I have my, I just watched Netflix season 1 of Dark. I'm on season 2, so I'm hoping to get that review out before season 3, which is on Saturday. So definitely expect reviews for that show. My next Ask Me Anything Q&A is this Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time. We got a movie on Netflix tomorrow, so a lot of fun content coming for you guys. We got episode 2 of Perry Mason, so a lot of great things coming for you all. But again, thank you for watching this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you soon.